Hello everybody, welcome back. We have pretty much done everything here in the land of the Yellow Winds, except kill the sage. So we gonna kill that sage now. Last stream we ended up finding all the bosses, kings, and enemies that we were missing. And cheated for the final 2 meditation points. I did look those up, but everything else we just happened to find. I was really lucky, I think, to find the last king too. I just randomly ran into his rock and was like, what does that say? But yes, now there's a lot more weight to this fight too, knowing after the fight with Fuban. I wonder if that... Well, actually, you know, that beetle will be here because that fight was us helping the sage to subdue Fuban.
Why do you have to come back? Winton, how is it yours to use?
Oh. Alright, you. Do your thing. It was the grapple. You got me with the grapple. Ahoy, Mr. Drew! The Wukong has gone great. This is actually our 3rd stream of the day, Mr. Drew. We actually found every single boss, and in this chapter. So that was pretty cool. Like, there was easily like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 of the bosses were hidden bosses. So we have a massive lore dump to go through once this sage is done, which would be fun. It's been nice to devote the day to the 2nd chapter. I'm wondering something here. So I feel I threw my load a bit too early.
Skinny wretch like you has come far enough.
Nice hit.
All the realm can withstand its power. Winds may be tameable.
That did work.
Trident is not.
Oh, there's Fuban! Oh, he got the grapple off. That grapple comes out of nowhere. He just kicks you into the air. He's like, nope, you're mine now. Oh, now he's using... Okay.
Let the wind still!
Oh, we got him. Wow, how much trouble he gave us when we tried to get him before killing all the other bosses.
You stole her long spell and snatched the great sage's relic. You even took your master's heed. Just for a short reign over this barren valley.
Whoa. Oh. Well now. You look better without a head.
Amitabha. I am Bodhisattva Lingji of New Mount Sumeru. The warden of this rat. After the great sage's passing, his sixth senses were scattered across the mortal realm. This thieving rat chanced upon one of them, yet hindered by his meager might, he could not absorb its power. Thus he schemed with wicked intent. A victim of his deceit, I had my head taken by him. The sense requires such a grand container to release its power. I should bear the blame for his reign of havoc upon this ridge again. Through your valor and sagacity, order has been restored. You are the sole worthy one to keep it. Please, keep it secure in my stead.
Second sense obtained. Oh, we got another music video. In a totally different art style than the last one. This is like stop motion almost. This is really cool. Huh. Feel had I read a lot of the lore that we've been saving, this would make a bit more sense. I do remember a few things about a couple with a child, though. Cute. Oh dear. Wolf guy, huh? Oh. Oh no, indeed.
Men, beasts, Buddhas, Yaoguais. Each of them bears a distinct root from birth, superior and inferior. None should disturb what's decided. Am I right, Sun Wukong?
With the wind and sand you've endured here, did you reach the Forgotten Kingdom at the end of the land? Did you find the clash of stones and the fall of Tiger's acolyte?
I did.
If you shut your ears and heed only your inner murmur, I fear the more you yearn for flawless endings, the further you'll stray from the path. Rats and cats, neither grasped their destiny, and yet neither admitted it. Listen closely, young one. Their complaints ride upon the wind.
Fuming ears. We got a spark. Cool. Gate imbued with the power of Samadhi Wind. This can be used when crafting weapons. More silks, more cold iron leaves, Yaoguai core, more refined iron sand, and mind core. Okay. Oh.
No wind wrought such destruction here. The Samadhi wind brought only malice here. Vajras and Arhats before the yellow wind shivered. Mounts of bodhisattvas, a lion scion and an elephant white, in fear quivered. A wicked Yaoguai of fierce might followed a discerning master. It was his blessing, but also became his curse. They say Yaoguais prey on men, yet men prey on men too, only more ruthlessly. A fair trade in that tiny well? How does it differ from the trades out in the world?
No, it's the boar.
They could have put their belief in anything, yet they chose a Yaoguai. Those who deny the rules must suffer the wrath.
Oh.
On a white deer or a green bull the celestial courtiers mount. On a cyan lion or a white elephant the bodhisattvas ride. This great beetle, too, could be someone's mount.
Hello.
Spared him, punished him, avoided him, eluded him. Master's grace taught, disciples' plot sought. His golden long staff meant nothing once mortal compassions took root. What is Atva's too could fall in this way.
Wow. The detail in this piece of artwork. I think that's it, though. Last check. Oh. Cool. Okay. After a successful hit with Sweeping Gale, another heavy attack that consumes a focus point executes Churning Gale. We could, or I could just max out the Smash stance. When charging, perfect dodges retain any focus that has been built up. Cool. We'll see if I can manage that. And if I get one more point there, then we pretty much maxed out this stance entirely. Alright, what's this thing do? All ears. Slightly extends invincibility duration of the fist move of all varied first move of all varied combos. That's cool. Additional iframes is always nice. Sound as a bell narrows the window of rock solid deflection, but returns half of the mana cost of the spell upon a deflection. That would pair with the skill in Rock Hard that actually does the same thing. And Whistling Wind temporarily increases attack after a perfect dodge. No, I'm gonna go with the Whistling Wind for now. Oh, we have a new one. Rat Sage Staff. The fourth move of the light attack combo and mobile staff spin can stir up a whirlwind of sand and increase attack range and damage. That's pretty cool. But we're going to continue using that for now. Samadhi Wind Agate. An Agate imbued with the power of Samadhi Wind. This can be used in crafting weapons. Okay. And our journal. We have quite a bit to go through here, so buckle up. There it is. The Rat Imperial Guard was the one we were missing. Yin prevails, Yang essence. Yin prevails, Yang's essence fades. Adorned in finery, blades parade. Once malice stirs within the heart, words become weapons, tearing apart. Since the Yellow Wind King had sequestered himself within the valley, his hoarded treasures were left to the cares of his trusted minions. One day, when a purple gold incensory vanished from the half-emptied storeroom, the rumor of theft, once a mere murmur, built into a raucous clamor, until the rat guy who guarded the storeroom was finally accused of pilfering from his own charge. The tale reached the ears of the Rat Imperial Guards. Clad in crimson, they were the secret Imperial enforcers. They went to interrogate the Rat Guard, hoping for a share of the spoils, but the humiliated guard was found lifeless, his neck wedged in a noose, dangling in his cell. With his death, the gossip mongers painted the Imperial Guards as vilifiers of the innocent, coercing false confessions with no means to defend themselves. The Imperial Guard launched a thorough inquiry, desperate to clear their names. Fortune struck when they unearthed the incensory within the nest of the Rat Guard's apprentice. The crowd's scorn shifted, branding the young apprentice a betrayer, and avaricious soul. Yet, in the face of the Imperial Guard's iron grip, the apprentice unfurled a new thread of the story. The incensory had been pilfered by the civet sergeant as a tribute to the Tiger Vanguard. It was the apprentice who, learning of his master's unjust fate, dared to retrieve it in secret. Verified by the Imperial Guards, the tale swayed public sentiment once more, from jeers to praise, but whispers are like fickle breeze. Soon, it was murmured that the thieving chief acted not out of greed, but out of son's duty to rescue his mother from the bowels of the Tiger Temple. The crowds murmured anew, their judgment as shifting as the sands. Alas, what is a grain of truth in a desert of tales? Actions taken in the cloak of shadows are often proclaimed in light as something else entirely. Perhaps it is the angle from which we plead our cause that crafts a different truth. And when a truth finds the light, it is often because some prefer an audience blind to the rest of the story. That was a cautionary tale about mob mentality, if I ever heard one. Yaguai Chiefs. The flowing... Which one? The first Prince of the Sand. Ah, the big guy. Wow, we got from the big guy on, huh? Let me make sure. Yep. Hairless, yet strength prevails. Bald and sturdy, never fail. Madness hides in mountain, where winds sing. In dark gutters, reigns a king. The yellow-furred rat had quelled the calamity caused by Fuban, earning the king's deep respect, and being appointed as the royal sage. No matter the state affairs, or the minutiae of daily life, the king would first seek his counsel, and I helped that sage quell Fuban. Or I helped that rat quell Fuban, and then he was the sage that we had to fight, which was such a cool little twist. Again, I'm so glad I pulled out of fighting the sage to go and re-explore that chapter and found all that, because that added so much more gravity to what was going on. Anyway, at the sage's suggestion, the king issued the Rodent Reverence Edict, prompting rodent guais from all around to migrate into the city. The first prince, having distinguished himself in battle, was conferred the title of Brave General and was basking in his success. However, he was deeply displeased that a guai sage had stolen his shine. Using the pretext of the rodent guais causing trouble, he rallied court officials to petition for the royal sage's removal. Several upheavals ensued in the court, resulting in the deaths of many loyal to the prince, and even the third prince left in anger. Yet the king's trust in the sage remained unshaken. On the sage's birthday, the entire kingdom worshipped his statue, and even the king paid a visit to the temple of the royal sage himself to offer incense and prayers. Unable to contain his fury, the first prince overturned the incense table in public. Such an affront to the royal authority could not be tolerated. Enraged, the king imprisoned the prince. The sage, however, was not angered, and even spoke many good words of the brave general. Learning of the sage's intercession, the prince became even more convinced that he was a deeply scheming evil guai. Cursing him incessantly in his cell, the king, upon hearing this, grew more antagonized by his unruly son. Hence, he decreed that the prince needed strict discipline, ordering that his meals be delivered to the cell door thrice daily with no visitors allowed. Initially, the prince was very stubborn, but over time he softened and began to plead for mercy. Yet, he remained defiant in his heart, constantly plotting to kill the rodents and avenge himself once he was free. One day, his meal was late, and he was growing anxious. Then he heard the sound of a key turning, and the cell door unexpectedly opened. After waiting for a while and seeing no one enter, he walked out himself. To his astonishment, the guards and officials bustling about the outside were no longer human. they all became rats dressed in robes. The prince thought it was the sage that had led the rodent guise to usurp the throne, and in his panic, he charged into his father's golden hall. A short, stout rat, speaking in his father's voice, called out to him. This must be an impostor. The prince grabbed a guard's sword and struck at the king. Chaos erupted in the hall. Only the royal sage brought forth a bronze mirror for the prince to see himself. In the reflection, there was no trace of the brave general, only an enormously fat rat. Well, Mother of Stones, that was a fun fight. It wasn't really much, like, the Mother of Stones really did nothing. She just summoned in quartzes, but it was a neat little fight, nonetheless. Probably the easiest fight of the game, of, like, one of the easiest of all of the, what are they again? All of the chiefs. As fatal lines, chance plays its part, yet misfortune leaves it an empty heart. Judge not a hero by skill alone, but by the fortune that they have shown. Long ago in the Yellow Wind Ridge there lived two mountain deities. By the grace of a wise one, they came into possession of a great Yaoguai's inner pill. They split and consumed it, gaining great powers from within. Thenceforth they bore the shape and heart of humans. In gratitude they bent their newfound strength to make the mountain's wilds thrive for the wise one. The keeper of the mountains, however, received no share of this boon. Envy wormed its way into his heart. Upon learning that the deities could conjure rock-wise at will, he schemed to wrest this power for himself. Little did he know that their conjectures drained deeply from their own will. The mountain deities poured out their own power to birth rock-wise, who shaped crags and stone, and nurtured green and bloom. Day by day, the keeper of the mountains sought to pilfer their practice and cultivation through the low deceits. Then came a day when a great rock guai emerged, and the lesser guais bowed to him as their vanguard. Still, the keeper, heedless of his peril, provoked strife as he had done before. Blow after blow, the stone vanguard rained upon him, until he laid pummeled in the dirt. Even then, he did not cease hurling curses. Alas, those who are bent on wickedness find new obstacles in their path, while those who pursue virtue encounter many hardships, often set by those with ill intentions. Tiger's Acolyte. Where has the swordsman gone with tears in his eyes? The wild wind sweeps the northern sands, lonely and desolate skies. Grass visits the empty village huts, dust welcomes the evil guais. Who knows the bitterness of the lotus heart, or the sourness within the prayer's guise? Wow, that was a bit of a tongue twister at the end there. Once there was a swordsman, wild and free, who roamed the lands far and wide. For the love of a woman he forsook his wandering ways, and married and had a child. But their happiness proved fleeting. From the mountains beyond the city walls there rose a wind, fierce and full of malice. It whipped the yellow dust into a frenzy, and the city was choked with it, day after day. Soon his wife succumbed to a wasting sickness, and their child too began to become ill. This is the story of the kid we were following from the drum, okay. The man was devastated. He spent all his silver in vain in an attempt to heal his child. Then he heard of a bodhisattva on New Mount Sumeru who could cure the wind sickness. With haste, he gathered what he still had and set forth with his child. When he reached the new Mount Sumeru, the disciples told him that the bodhisattva had departed for the Yellow Wind Ridge long ago and had not returned. The man had no choice but to take his child and set out once more. When they arrived at the ridge, they learned that this place was right next to a fierce wind. The child's frail condition worsened with each passing hour. They took shelter in the village of Windrest, where the child rested and the man went to find the Bodhisattva. One day, while passing a dry well outside the village, the man heard a tiger's roar. He climbed down into the well and found a hidden cavern where a great tiger lay, wounded and weak, deep in meditation. The well in Sandgate Village that we went down that had the Mad Tiger boss. Okay. So had I actually read these as they come up, I would have had more context and more kind of indications of where to go for what was going on. Huh. Well, I'll keep that in mind. The tiger told the old man he was a deity in the mountain, revered by the village priests. In the valley, they had never raised a temple in his honor. He said he'd been ambushed by the Yaoguais that stirred up the fierce wind and took over his temple. That's why he was in this pitiful state. The man was doubtful, but as he asked around in the village, he found that the tale was true in every detail. From the reverence of the priests to the temple in the valley, he hastened back to the well and his ailing child in his arms to beg the tiger for healing. The tiger brought out a strangely shaped gourd filled with water and gave it to the child. Wonder of wonders, after drinking from the gourd, the child was able to run and play as he had before, with the wind sickness struck. Before the wind sickness struck. I see. The tiger told the man that the wind had harmed his essence. With the flesh of the living, he could regain his former might, and then he could tame the raging wind and heal the child completely. The man was reluctant, but as he watched his son grow stronger day by day, playing in the village with the other children, a terrible resolve hardened in his heart. He began to lead the unsuspecting villagers into the well, hoping to restore the tiger to its former strength. As time passed, most naturally the villagers found out what he had done. By the time the man had returned to the village, he found his son slain by their angry hands. The man was consumed by regret, and drew the sword he had sealed away for years. He fell upon the villagers, and one by one he cut them down until the streets ran red with blood. Then alone, he set out into the shifting sandstorm, lost in the ever-howling wind. The Gorai Taoist! This useless fucking thing. A strange man with a lump on his back that has eyes in it. They granted him eyes. A staff of blood-red hue. He leaps and bounds with eerie might. 100 eyes glowing in the night. A strange visitor once came to the Temple of Yellow Flowers. He proclaimed himself trained in the mystic arts upon Mount Lingtai. "Submit now and yield to me the thing," he told the master of the temple, "and you will be spared. Yes, the thing! The ever-important thing!" Beetle Commander was sent to subdue him, and the man was sealed in a cocoon sack in the cave. Yet days later, a lesser Gwai brought word to the master that the sack lay sundered and the captive had escaped. At this, the master gave nothing but a smile. Since his escape from the cocoon sack, a fleshy mass studded with many eyes had sprouted from the man's back. He paid no mind to this horrific sight and continued his wandering practice. He passed through a desolate mountain where bandits ran rampant and the nearby villagers lived in squalor. He chose to settle and summoned rainfall. By his arts, the blasted peaks grew green with elms and willows, and the slopes cloaked themselves in pines and firs. After his efforts, the once barren mountains saw years of clement weather, and people of the lowlands flourished in numbers. Yet the bandits cared nothing for an honest life. They saw the greenwood only as fresh plunder, and the growing number as ripe for the hunt. The man then took on the guise of an enlightened monk, and went among the bandits' hideout to spread the wisdom of the Buddha. In the end, the bandits forsook evil and came down the mountain to live in peace. Years passed, then came a day when the man entered the village and raised a ritual staff at the entrance. From its crown poured a blood-red light. Every person it touched fell into a frenzy, tearing at each other as if under the thrall of some evil force. In mere moments, the lowlands became a pit of slaughter, and the grounds overflowed with the blood of the slain. On the man's back, the hump gaped wide, and countless eyes unveiled. Slowly, they supped the spilled blood and sundered spirits. In no time, the lump had swollen even larger, until it could absorb no more. Only then did the eyes slowly close. The man came back to himself and removed the staff, then set out for the next place to settle. Eerie, me like. The Mad Tiger. The one at the bottom of the well. Yellow wind invades the land, brothers turn to strife. Father's vengeance left unclaimed in the well of life. Roaring through the mountain pass, a heart that feigns to care. Actions always half complete, dreams and life laid bare. One day, the brother of Tiger Vanguard was practicing his roaring technique at the bottom of a well when he saw someone climbing down the vines. Seeing that the intruder had some courage, he refrained from attacking and instead inquired about his purpose. The man explained that he was seeking a bodhisattva to cure his son's wind illness, but he failed, and now his son was on the brink of death. Hearing this, Tiger Brother devised a plan. Oh, this is the same story from the alternate perspective. Neat! He attributed his elder brother's deeds to himself and convinced the man to bring his son, claiming that he could treat the boy. When they first met, the boy's face was pale. Too weak to climb down the well by himself, the boy was carried by his father by tying him with a hemp rope to lower him safely into the well. Tiger Brother examined the boy and confirmed that his spirit had been disturbed by the Samadhi wind. Without stopping the wind and sand, no one could cure him. Tiger Brother remembered that his brother had given him a magical gourd. Drinking from it could strengthen one's vitality, and he thought it might help keep the boy alive. After the boy drank the water Tiger Brother gave him, he indeed regained some energy and could speak. Despite his long illness, the boy was very polite. He thanked Tiger Brother for his help, praising him endlessly in the boy's admiring gaze. Tiger Brother found a long-lost sense of satisfaction. He instructed the father and son to come daily and take a sip from the gourd, or the boy would relapse. After several visits, the boy's condition improved significantly. He could walk around and even play in the village, making many friends each time he came to drink from the gourd. He would call Tiger Brother Tiger God and share his new food, toys, and experiences. Despite his initial wariness of the father and son, Tiger Brother gave the boy his gourd when he observed the man was sincere and honest. He instructed the boy to keep the gourd close. Heeding his words, the boy's health improved even more. Yet, abruptly, the father and son stopped visiting. Tiger Brother waited for several days, thinking they might have run off with the gourd. Determined to find out what happened, he went to the village. Upon entering the village, he saw blood everywhere. The villagers had been slaughtered. At the village entrance, there was a thin coffin, and inside lay the boy's body. He still wore the gourd Tiger Brother had given him around his neck. Judging by the wounds, it seemed that he had been beaten to death with sticks. Tiger Brother carried the coffin to the bottom of the well. He decided to wait until he was strong enough. One day he would stop that cursed wind and sand. But he didn't. Instead, he met me, and now I can turn into him for a brief period. Tiger Vanguard, in quotes. The one from the flashback area. That was a really fun fight, too. Not the actual Tiger Vanguard, because that is, of course, in the King's section. Gathering strength with a mighty roar, transforming stones, launching surprise once more. A loyal general with a heart so bold, a noble fighter lost in the age of old. Actually, it is Tiger Vanguard. It's just a younger version of him, because we're fighting in the past in that sequence, which was really cool. Excuse me. The monk and his two disciples pressed on. Before half a day had passed, they came upon a towering peak, dire to behold. As they gazed upon it, there rose a tumult of wind, and from the mountainside leapt a tiger, dappled and fierce, its tail lashed in the wind. "I am no common beast," it roared. "I am the vanguard of the Yellow Wind King. By order of my liege, I patrol this range and seek out mortals to serve as side dishes for his brews." The Yaoguais closed in with a flurry of claws, aimed at Baji's face. Wukong whipped out his staff with a shout. "Take him!" Oh, really? So this was actually telling a story of the younger Tiger Vanguard fighting the Monkey King and Zhu Baijie. Neat. Baijie rallied his courage, and the Yaoguai fell back in disarray. Panicked, it sloughed off its skin and draped it over a tiger-shaped rock, loosed from its flesh and transformed into a screaming gale, and raced back to the mountain road. And there it found the Tang monk chanting his sutra. In a trice, the tiger seized the monk and bore him away on the wind. The tiger brought the monk to the mouth of the cave, and stilling the wind, spoke to the guard. "Tell this to our master. The Tiger Vanguard has captured a monk and awaits his pleasure at the gate." The guard rushed in to report. Out came 2 tiger cubs who hailed the Vanguard as their father and made their courtesies. Alright, as he said, he was raising 2 kids. The older cub asked, "Where did you find this pale-faced monk?" The Vanguard laughed. "A stroke of luck. I was patrolling the mountains and chanced upon him." The younger cub, overjoyed, said, "Well done, father. Teach me how you did it someday." Even as they spoke, the master of the cave sent word, "Bring him in." Along with his sons, the Tiger Vanguard presented the Tang monk before the master. "My king," the Vanguard began, "I was honored with your command to patrol the mountains. By chance I came across a monk, none other than the Tang Emperor's sworn brother, Tripitaka, bound for a journey to the west to seek the scriptures. I seized him and now offer him to grace your table." The master, surprised, demanded the full tale. The Vanguard knelt to one side and recounted the fight. "Hold," said the cave master. "We do not eat him just yet." The Vanguard protested. "My king, it is against our nature to refuse the food before us." But the master replied, "You do not understand. Eating him would be no great matter, but I fear the 2 disciples of his will come clamoring at our gate. It is safest to bind him to the windrest post in our rear garden. Wait 3 days, or 5. If his disciples do not come to our gate, we will boil, steam, fry, or roast him at our leisure. There is no rush." The Vanguard rejoiced. "Wise beyond measure, my king. Wise indeed." The 2 young tigers followed their father out. The elder muttered, "Master has always devoured mortals without a second thought. There should be something he left unsaid." The younger added, "He seems almost afraid of that mortal." Their father snapped, "You know nothing of the powers of our master. Long seasons have I served him. How could he shrink before any other?" The brothers exchanged glances, but said no more. Scarcely half a day had passed when the master sent for them again. It was son Wukong challenging upon their gate. The Tiger Vanguard requested to face him, but the master demurred. "I fear you cannot prevail against him. You may well be wounded, but you must not then impute blame unto me." The Vanguard's sons urged him to reconsider, but he paid them no heed. "Rest assured, you wait only until I return." A tale of Sun Wukong, harkening back to the original literature. Now for the Yaoguai Kings. The Red Luong is up first. The boss that you have to get the key item out of this chapter to go back to the first chapter's area defined. But as I learned, with that Luong scale, that actually gives me access to all of the Luongs. And the 2 Luongs that I've found so far, at least I'm assuming gives me access to however many there are. Because I was able to use it on 2 waterfalls, so I'm also now on the lookout for waterfalls in every chapter thanks to that. But yes, the Red Luong. Smoke rises high from wood afire. Hit the back, let the beats respire. As in mist, thunders conspire. After the case of the old Long King of Jing River was settled, the Long Princes found themselves facing an uncertain future. Following the journey west, rewards were given based on merit, but only the Long Princes alone awaited judgment. Heightening their anxiety, they sought out Yuan Sucheng and asked him for a sign of their fortunes. The signs showed the long lies hid, not a time for action, which became a thorn in their hearts. Among them, the most concerned were the 4 Luongs who governed the 4 rivers and knew well the might of those above. They took the initiative to resign, hoping to save their lives by retreating, yet the letters they submitted to the Celestial Court were all returned. Time flew by, and one day Yuan Sucheng sought out the 4 Luongs. He relayed that the signs had shifted to "the long lies hid, stirs in the deep," indicating a favorable time of action. Upon hearing this, the 4 Luongs left their underwater abode and went their separate ways to plan their next moves. The Red Luong was quite astute, knowing that Black Bear Guai was greedy for treasures and had the protection of Guan Yin. He bartered all his valuable possessions with Black Bear Guai in exchange for an ideal cave nestled in the mountains. Afterward, he went into seclusion in the cave and slept for many years. One day, he awoke and wandered to soar up the sky and stretch his body again, but found that he could hardly climb the clouds. He remembered an ancient saying: when a Luong wishes to ascend to the sky, it must first climb the claw wood. He wielded his thunderbolt tail to carve out a set of claw wood in the mountains to help him fly, but it was still to no avail. The Red Luong was unwilling to accept defeat and sought help from Black Bear Guai. Although Black Bear Guai was not good at flying, it's a very big and fat bear, so I'm not surprised, he couldn't resist the chance for profit that presented itself. He sold the Boshan censer he had brought from Guan Yin's palace to Red Luong, claiming that the censer could create clouds and smoke. He cited a passage from the ancient texts to persuade the Red Luong. A Luong cannot traverse without clouds. Oh, we got that censer as a curio and beat the Red Luong. Neat. The Red Luong believed this to be true. He embedded the censer on his back and burned his will in to forcibly create smoke from it, which was fucking interesting in that fight with it. When one censer was not enough, he added another. Each time the censers emitted smoke, they greatly consumed his will, yet the help they provided was very limited. Although the Red Luong could use it to fly again, the flight could never compare to that of the old days. He could only reside warily among the clawwoods. Alas, to think that the world harbors such vexing realities. A skill once mastered can fade when neglected. Such is the nature of all knowledge. If not applied, it withers away into nothing in the end. How lamentable. Yet another cautionary tale. Alright, then we got the Tiger Vanguard, the real one, the hard one. Oh, we had read the Stone Vanguard one earlier, I guess. Tiger Vanguard, majestic and grand, with a fierce display, striped coat, eyes like lightning's ray. In the blood pool its wrath does rise, with a bronze head and iron tail, it terrifies. The tale began centuries past, when the journeyers crossed Yellowwind Ridge. In those days, the old Tiger Vanguard lost his life seizing the Tang monk. He left behind 2 sons who, once orphaned, had to fend for themselves. Oh! Okay, so yeah, Tiger Brother, the one in the well, one of the sons of the Vanguard we fight in the past. And current hardest boss so far, Tiger Vanguard, was probably the elder brother, I'm guessing. The mountain groves lay in ruins. The Tiger brothers led the remaining lesser Guais in a bitter struggle for survival. Fortunately, their father had taught them enough to make a living. As the sandstorms ebbed, rock Guais slowly restored the groves to their former state. The elder Tiger, following his late father's ways, governed the Yao Guais in the mountain. Each knew their place and dared not prowl forth to prey on the living. Later, mortals drawn by the lush peaks and clear springs built a village amid the slopes. The elder Tiger gained a renown as a deity in the mountain, with the principles devour the evil and shield the good. The villagers built a crouching tiger temple for the brothers, offering rich tributes that made their lives even more blissful. Yet long had the younger nursed a grievance. His elder brother reaped all the glory in the people's words on tigers in the mountain. He believed his brother earned this merely by dint of a few more years of life. Another century turned, and the Yellowwind Sage returned to Yellowwind Ridge with a host of rat Guais. The younger Tiger declared that it was the sage's negligence that had doomed their father. He clamored to slay the sage in vengeance, urging his brother to drive off the rats. Deeming this just, the elder agreed. But in that fight, the sage unleashed a vessel like a bodhisattva's severed head, with its gale as sharp as an edge. In a single clash, the young tiger fell grievously wounded for the life of his little brother. Oh, so the Tiger Vanguard was actually the younger brother. Interesting. The elder tiger at once cast down his arms and knelt in surrender. The sage held no grudge. After learning the brothers' origins, he granted the surrender one the title of Vanguard. I think that might have been something lost in translation. Yeah, he even granted the one that surrendered title of Vanguard. The one that surrendered, just to make sure I read that right. Oh no, it is elder brother was the Vanguard. Okay. When the younger tiger woke and learnt his brother now served as the Vanguard, he seethed in disbelief. The brothers quarreled bitterly until the younger stormed off, severing all ties with the only family he had left. In the Tiger Vanguard's eyes, that yellow-furred rat had twice destroyed his family and left them broken and scattered. He hated him for that, but he was no fool. As long as the rat had protection from the higher ones, what more could a tiger do beyond venting his rage by devouring a few lesser rats each day? Which is why his whole arena and the stairs leading up to it were littered in blood and rat corpses. Shigandang, the boss that I'm so lucky that I hit, because I would have totally missed that. In the sea of bitterness, harsh winds bring the tide. Only those favored one can reach the other side. Once fragrance of rained soil spreads far and wide, yet dustless is the realm where the Buddhas reside. Years ago, upon Yellowwind Ridge, several cliffstones drank deeply of the essence of sky and earth, basking in the energy of sun and moon. In time, They awakened, transforming into sentient stone guais. Among them, 2, through advanced cultivation, were bestowed with the title of mountain deities. One day, for reasons unbeknown, several Buddha heads emerged from the ground on the ridge. These heads, complete with eyes, ears, mouths, noses, and even flexible muscles, were profoundly bizarre. Upon seeing any living creature, they would scream loudly, and if approached, they would swallow the creature whole. One stone guai, finding these Buddha heads strange and dangerous, decided to eliminate them to protect the mountain's inhabitants. It rammed into one of the Buddha heads, crushing it to a pulp. However, the flesh adhered to the stone guai's body and soon grew into a new stone Buddha head. From that moment on, the stone guai's temperament completely changed. It began to roam the mountains, searching for other Buddha heads, crushing them and allowing them to grow on its back. As the number of Buddha heads on its body increased, so did its size. That would explain why it looked the way it did, for sure. It no longer took nourishment from the universe, but instead fed on the mountain's living creatures to cultivate. The other stone guais could not defeat it. A single punch from it would shatter them to pieces, destroying their souls. When the yellow-furred rat and his followers left the kingdom of flowing sands and passed through the Yellowwind Ridge, they encountered the mountain deities, leading several stone guais to drive the infested stone guai away. The yellow-furred rat seemed to understand the nature of those Buddha heads well. A strong sense of righteousness led him and his followers into battle. In a great victory, the yellow-furred rat not only destroyed the infested stone guai, but also eradicated all the flesh Buddha heads in the mountain. He extracted the essence from the guai and divided it between the 2 brave mountain deities. He also gouged out the eyeballs from the Buddha heads and placed them in the valley as a seal. Oh! The mountain's inhabitants greatly admired the Yellowwind guai. Seeing that he could summon the wind, they named him the Yellowwind Sage, and revered him as their king, settling with him in the Yellowwind Ridge. Oh! So, it was the Buddha eyes that woke him up. That I was using. Those broke the seal. Gotcha. The Black Luong! God, that thing had one annoying move. And if it didn't have that move, it would have been way easier. With iron whiskers and devouring lips, twin hammers held in fierce embrace. Lightning sparks, powerful force. In thunder's roar, he holds the place. Long had the fisherman beside the river Ji spoke of the Black Luong. Dwelling far beneath the waters in the 9 depths, upon its neck rested a pearl of wisdom, said to grant the great enlightenment to any who held it, a prize beyond the worth of gold. Many had braved the depths to find this fabled gem, yet few had been fortunate enough to return. With bitter tears they told of the pearls below, of returning with nothing to show for their trials, and worse, of facing the wrath of the fearsome Luong Prince, armed with the twin hammers that summoned forth the fury of thunder. The prince could smite those before him, leaving nothing but dust. Yeah, those twin hammers were nasty. Excuse me. Long ages passed, yet still there were those who sought the pearl. Among the people, it was whispered that when the River Ji burst its banks and the waters rose in wrathful flood, it was surely the doings of the Luong Prince. His wrath aroused by the trespassers of those who sought his treasure. In hopes of appeasing him, they built a grand and splendid temple, where they offered worship and tribute to the Lord of the Watery Depths. Then came a day when a young man arrived, clad in a midnight hue, with a necklace of moon-pale stones around his neck. He named himself a master thief, with skills beyond compare. Though all had cautioned him against earning the Long Prince's wrath, he paid no heed, and with a single swift dive, he set his course for the Long's palace. To his surprise, he found the palace strangely silent and empty, with no sign of the soldiers he had expected. A heavy sense of desolation hung in the air. Puzzled, he went to seek the sea treasury and saw a sturdy, tawny-skinned man sitting amid a pile of chests, his brow furrowed in worry. At the sounds of his approach, that man, who turned out to be the Long Prince, stirred, dug a string of pearls from a chest, and tossed them to the ground. "The pearl of wisdom you seek is not mine to give," he said in a weary voice. "Take these, if you must, and go." Surprised, the young man asked, "The people on the shore spoke of your fierce temper, of how you strike men with your thunder or flood entire lands for the smallest slight." The Long Prince shook his head. "The flesh of mortals holds no savior for me. Think you that I am some petty Yaoguai to wreak havoc at my own whim? No. I would not dare to call forth the smallest storm, save at the bidding of those higher. Idle talk, all of it. My own sire was condemned to the bite of steel for one trifling error. We Longs, though our hearts are true as any, are treated with such injustice." The young man said, "I have heard of the Long King's plight, a grievous injustice indeed. It is for his sake that you find yourself in such reduced circumstances?" Seeing he was no mortal, the Long Prince said, "Precisely. I wish not to have to meet my end upon the long-slaying terrace. I asked a fortune-teller. He said that if I hide well and kill some westbound monkey, I may yet atone for my misdeeds and restore my honor. Well, I killed you instead, and I am totally a westbound monkey." The young man pondered this. A fortune-teller, you say? It was the words of a fortune-teller that led me to this place. There might be some strange design at work in this meeting of ours. Why not go with me to where I come from? It just so happens to be on the very road that leads to the west. The Long Prince was overjoyed, but the young man added, "I ask no small price, however. All the treasures in your hoard, they must be mine." Since that day of the young man's arrival, fewer and fewer were those who sought to plumb the river depths in search of the pearl. Later on, the tools of their quest were one by one set aside, and in time, the tales of the Long Prince far below and the pearl of wisdom he guarded were no longer spoken of. I spent the first half of that story wondering why the fuck we fought a river dragon in the desert, and it got us there. Fuban! The Beetle! God, that was a neat fight. Again, not incredibly difficult, much more of a set-piece fight, but my god, was that a lot of fun. Armored strong with horns that rise, burrowing kings, endless human cries. A Buddha's head, yet ominous seems. On one side saint, on the other a fiend. The kingdom of flowing sands, abundant with gold, marked the sun's daily demise. The sun, truest of fires, plunged into the western seas, and the waters boiled and hissed at its touch. Each dusk, as the evening bell tolled, the king sent men to the ramparts, where they beat upon the great drum and sound clarion calls, thus neutralizing the noise of the seas, which would otherwise be sharp enough to ravage babies in their cradles. This drum, known as the Drum of the Setting Sun, was a gift from the Buddha and granted peace to the common folk. In gratitude, they filled their land with golden statues of all those enlightened, and the place came to be known as the Buddhist Land of Gold. Yet, as the years passed, the people's reverence for the Buddha grew to overshadow their regards for the secular ruler. This did not sit well with the king of the flowing sands. The chancellor, sensing his displeasure, petitioned for an end to Buddhism, and so the king decreed the razing of the temples, the banishment of monks, and even the change of the kingdom's name. Not long after, at dusk, when the great drum was struck, a monstrous insect erupted from the earth beyond the border. With terrible might it ravaged the humble villages, leaving untold dead in its wake. From then on, the sound of the drums unfailingly drew that Yaoguai from its den to wreak new ruin. The people declared this to be a karmic retribution. So a karmic beetle, huh? The result of the king's impiety. They chastened the king and halted his suppression of the Buddhist faith and sent armies to slay the creature. Yet what hope had mortal men to prevail against a foe so mighty and dreadful? After a bitter struggle, they could only manage to frighten it back to its lair. Fortunately, there was an enlightened monk, yellow of hair and garb, passing through the land. This righteous soul could not bear to witness woe and injustice, and aided the armies in slaying the wicked insect. In gratitude, the king honored him with the title of royal sage, and the monk resided in the kingdom for several years. He only beat that beetle because of me, and he's a giant rat, I'll tell ya. I mean, he was. We had to fight him to end the chapter. And fight alongside him to subdue Fuban, the beetle. Anyway. In time, the royal sage took his leave and resumed his wanderings. Word came that a bodhisattva, well pleased by his worthy deeds, had taken him as a disciple. He then founded his temple in the Yellowwind Ridge. See how the world favors virtue, the king often remarked. And he would then go on to behead that bodhisattva and use his head to create all the sandstorms. And speaking of that guy, finally, we have the Yellowwind Sage. Endless yellow winds, sands stretch afar. In the land once abundant, no homes there are. Half Gwai, half immortal, who can decide? Thief or sage? Why would he mind? Firelight flickered over a table laden with food and drink. The second prince of flowing sands, sitting on the table, gnawed on what might have been half a haunch with relish. The king of flowing sands sat beside his son obediently. As someone who typically delighted in pointing out the missteps of others, he remained oddly silent during the feast. Even the tiger vanguard was on his best behavior, watching the dimwit across from him gorging on the haunch. The tiger seemed to have no appetite. The Yellowwind Sage sat in the place of honor, one hand caressing the object resting on the table, the head of a bodhisattva with eyes closed in silence. "Oh, I need more!" The sudden shout from the second prince set all hearts hammering. His paw, the king of flowing sands, glowered and hissed, "Shut it!" Then he scrambled to his knees and pleaded for forgiveness. "A trifle is all." The Yellowwind Sage rested his hands atop the head of Lingji, then stood. "With my master's most prized vessel in my grasp, I can surely absorb that thing. I meant to enter secluded meditation starting today. I have appeased those old rascals from above, yet it will be wise to remain discreet." "If you're seeking seclusion, master," fawned the king of the flowing sands, "my people and I would be honored to camp outside the cave and stand guard beside you." "Beside me?" The sage gazed at his master's head and rejected his offer immediately. "No. You will move to the ridge. I will be setting the Yellow Wind formation. Let no one disturb me." If there's urgent news, master, how shall we bear it to you?" the king cried out. "Excuse me." The Yellow Wind pointed at the Tiger Vanguard. "Have your rock brothers raise paths of sand, each with a gate locked by a secret tally. You two vanguards will each hold a tally." Ah, and that's why we got the tallies from the Stone Vanguard and the Tiger Vanguard. Okay. Before the Tiger Vanguard knelt to thank the sage for his weighty charge, the king interjected anxiously, "But master, we rats have never gotten along with those cats. If they hold the yellow sage didn't want to listen at all. He picked up the Buddha's head and interrupted. All of you withdraw. Do not disturb me unless the very sky collapses." Huh. So he was trying to commune with the Celestial Court and we ran into him, I guess. And then we have characters. Quite a few, actually. Wow. I have a feeling we're going to be running into him again, because he did not die. He let us pass. He was like, "No, nope, you kicked my ass good enough." Man in Stone. This game's patches. When fortune fades, speak not of past delight. In times of joy, recall the memory's blight. A single thought of green can cloud the mind, with each step in anger binds, leaving wisdom blind. According to common sense, the local keeper and the mountain deities should work together harmoniously. However, this was not the case in Yellowwind Ridge. Years ago, when the Yellowwind Sage led his followers to subdue Buddha-headed Stone Gwai, he sought the Keeper's assistance in battle. The Keeper, however, chose to remain a bystander. Consequently, when the Gwai's essence was divided and distributed, only the mountain deities received a share, leaving the Keeper empty-handed, and filled him with resentment. Knowing that his own abilities were mediocre and lacking any significant divine powers or backing, the Keeper believed that obtaining the essence would grant him great powers, akin to those of the mountain deities. Thus, when the Father of Stones departed and the Yellowwind Sage surrendered, he harbored malicious intentions towards the Mother of Stones. He observed the valley for many days, noting how the Stone Gwais were busy moving mountains and shaping stones, while the Mother of Stones merely issued commands from her stone cave. This gave him an idea. One day he transformed himself to resemble a Stone Gwai, and pretended to be one on an errand to approach the Mother of Stones. His plan was to ram into her abdomen with all of his might, hoping to crack her open and extract the essence. However, just as he leaped, the Mother of Stones let out a piercing scream, and several Stone Gwais emerged from the ground nearby. Distracted, the Keeper missed his mark and only managed to create a crack on the Mother of Stone's chest. Realizing his plan had been exposed, he clung to her, attempting to absorb the power with all of his might. By the time the Stone Gwais pried him off, he had absorbed half of her essence. Enraged, the Stone Gwais chased and attacked him relentlessly. The Keeper, unable to escape, tried to revert to his original form to fight back. To his dismay, he found himself unable to change back, likely because the stone essence had transformed him into a stone. The Stone Gwais continued to batter him until he was buried in the ground, where we found him. From then on, the Keeper lost all hope and resigned himself to being a broken stone in the valley. Yet, he still believed that if he could obtain the other half of the essence, he might be able to transform back. That actually explains something for me, because up until the Headless Monk turned out to be Bodhisattva Lingji, I figured he was the Desert Sage. Or not the Desert Sage, but the Desert Keeper. He wasn't. He was a Bodhisattva. The Desert's Keeper was fucking Patches of Wukong. That's hilarious. The Yellow-Robed Squire, good old drunk oolong pigsy guy. In silken robes that flutter bright, a long-snouted Gwai with eyes alight. Drunk with joy, he sleeps on tombs forlorn. His spear and armor gleam and like dawn. Windy, searing sun, a vast waste. A headless monk and a yellow-robed squire rested together under a withered tree. The monk plucked at the strings of his sanshan, his body swaying gently to and fro. "Enough," said the squire, rousing himself. "Let's have some peace." The monk's hand stilled. He edged away, then raised his hand to strum again. The squire hastily held out his drinking flask. "Have a drink." "With what mouth? I ain't got a head." "Where is it?" "Didn't you hear the song?" the monk answered. "Gone! Someone stole it." "You should have kept better watch on your head. The fault's your own." The monk turned away, making no answer. The squire drew a piece of gold from his robe and showed it to the monk. Though he had neither head nor eyes, the monk warned, "Mind how ye swing about such a prize. Could have the thieves eyeing ye." The squire waved a hand. "I don't have to worry. I'll come for you. I'll come for you if it's filched." Sorry, enjoying a drink. "Me? You're the only one I've shown it to. If it's gone, you will be the culprit." The monk gave a dry chuckle at a loss for words. The squire gestured towards the horizon. "There's gold aplenty there. Why should you covet a mere sheet from me?" "I ain't after your gold, but tell me, what gold lies there?" "You truly want to know? That was once a kingdom abundant with gold. Gold from the gilded Buddha statues, all stripped bare. Even the gold Buddha statues. Ye ain't a believer in karma then?" "Ah, all those golden Buddha never brought them any favor. It is plain there is no such thing as karma." The monk fell silent. The squire sneered. Tipping his flask, he found it empty, and then he rose to his feet. "I'm to await someone at the bidding of my brother. If you want more drink, come find me." He tucked the flask on one side. "I'll go scrape some more gold and trade it for a better brew. Then we can drink our fill." The monk tried to stop him. So he played the Sanshan, singing a song of karmic justice. The squire paid him no mind. With a wave and a laugh, he strode away across the sands. The headless monk's heart weighed down with disquiet. The yellow-robed squire, however, went on his way, and the desert air rang long with the peals of his laughter. Ah, the headless monk! Sanshan, Sanshan, grief and rage untold, defeated and demented by my follower bold. Confused I saw kindness repaid with hate. The sands obscure the truth, the winds seal my fate. In the days when strange winds first howled through Windrest, a curious event unfolded. Children of the village were at play near the village's edge when haunting chords from the Sanshan wafted through the air. Their young ears caught the song's pleasant notes. In land o' bloodshed and chaos's sting. Intrigued, and never having heard such a song, the youngsters raced towards the musician. As they neared, they beheld a figure leaning on a boulder, headless. The children scattered in fright, all but young Chengda, who stumbled and fell. As he lay weeping and watching his friends flee, the headless monk ceased his strumming. He emerged from behind the rock and strummed once more. Invisible forces gently lifted Chengda, steadying him on his feet. No longer fearful, the boy observed that apart from missing the head, this figure resembled the benevolent monks he'd seen in the hamlet. Seeing Chengda unafraid, the headless monk plucked another cord. A cooling breeze passed over the boy's bruised leg. Looking down, Chengda found his wounds miraculously healed. Clapping in joy, he exclaimed, "Magic! Magic!" The monk strummed again, and Chengda's torn trousers restored themselves. With that, the monk returned to his eerie song. Yellowwind Ridge, mighty old range, once buzzin' with joy and glee, and vanished into a gust of wind and sand. When the villagers returned to save Chengda, they found him pointing at the sand, exclaiming, "It was an immortal!" The adults scoffed. "Nonsense! What sort of immortal lacks a head? You've seen a ghost, boy!" "No, neither. It was a Bodhisattva. Well, I guess the Bodhisattvas would be immortal. Bodhisattva Lingji! From emptiness desires arise, bringing strife. From compassion lust grows, vast as life. Past joys turn to future regrets. Cleanse the heart, let go, as the wind sets. The reasons behind Bodhisattva Lingji's beheading are widely debated. Tiger Vanguard put it this way: how could we, mere followers, dare to discuss the matter of affairs? However, I once heard my father mention that our master despised that bodhisattva of some sort. They called a master's disciple relationship. To me, it was about merely seeking protection. Being a Yaoguai, you've got to be pragmatic. Immortals and Buddhas don't show mercy. It's all about mutual benefit. The King of Flowing Sands seemed to know more details. Years ago, when Master helped my humble kingdom avert disasters, I caught a glimpse of that big beetle. It had a Buddha head on its back, identical to the one Master beheaded. Alas, everyone in my kingdom turned into rats later. Master said it was a calamity he brought upon us and left with his followers. I know he didn't want it to leave. He always wanted Yaoguais to live dignified lives. The second prince was terse. Master, not bad. The Bodhisattvas deserved it. Ma Timba, passing through, sighed and said, an oil-stealing rat climbs high only if someone sets up a ladder. The Yellow-Wind Sage had only one comment about the matter. Those who bring disaster upon others will have disaster brought upon them. If not by me, then by someone else. Shoe-Dog. Oh, the mediciner. No divine arts, no medicine's trance. With a palm fan, he nurtures his pills dance. A sincere heart, the medicine he seeks, bored by human woes and worldly techniques. Pretty sure this is the last one. At the eastern end of Qingshu Alley stood a modest Taoist temple, home to a solitary Taoist. This Taoist professed to have discovered the ancient formula for an immortality pill from the sea, earning him a reputation as a miraculous healer. The Taoist's pills, when taken by the sick, showed no significant improvement, and when they taken by the healthy, had no noticeable effect. If anyone inquired about their efficacy, he would calmly explain, there is no such thing as a wondrous cure-all pill that can bring the dead back to life. True health arises from the harmony and smooth flow of one's essence, vigor, and spirit. Consequently, people began to doubt the Taoist's skills, leading to his temple being sparsely visited and few seeking his medical assistance. In the city, there was an old man named Mr. Chen, whose wealth rivaled that of nobility. Now in his 60s, he had fallen gravely ill, showing signs of being near the end of his life. His son sought out the Taoist and invited him to treat his ailing father. The Taoist had a yellow dog that he kept by his side at all times. This time, he brought it along to the Chen residence. The Taoist prepared many special pills for Mr. Chen. Although the household servants thought it was merely going through the motions, they dared not say much and watched from the sidelines. Unexpectedly, after taking the pills, Mr. Chen gradually began to eat and drink a little, and his breathing became smoother, showing signs of recovery. Yet, just when everything was getting better, in one of the Taoist pill-making sessions, his furnace exploded, killing him in the process. The household servants came to clean up the Taoist's temporary quarters, lamenting the whims of his fate. To their astonishment, they saw the Taoist's yellow dog dressed in his clothes, walking out of the room. The dog was fanning itself with a tattered palm leaf fan and said, I had planned to learn some mortal skills in the human world. Who would have thought that this world great talents bring such peril. With that, the dog snapped the fan and disappeared. Huh, cute. And that's that. We are Lord up. So, as we know, we can just go on to the next chapter. I think, especially since I have been reading for almost 45 minutes straight, my eyes and my voice need a bit of a break. But also it's 1:30 in the morning. But tomorrow we will come back and take on Chapter 3, continuing on. So this roughly about 2/3 of the way. I know there's 6 chapters in the game. I'm keeping myself as spoiler-free as possible. With thumbnails on YouTube, it's getting hard nowadays. But I'm good at scrolling fast. I really don't want to spoil anything in this game. So I will be back tomorrow. We will continue this on. Oh, why thank you, Mr. Drew. Sight reading things that I have never seen before has definitely become a skill that streaming on Twitch has been able to really teach me well. My throat is parched and all I have next to me is rice wine to unparch it. So cheers to you, Mr. Drew. Kampai. Actually, I'm not even tired, so I'm going to take the trash out, have a smoke, and depending on how I feel, either we'll be back tomorrow or we'll be back in like an hour. Well, see you when we see y'all. Great to hear from you as well, Mr. Drew. I hope you and Jenny have a great one. And if I do come back tonight and you're still awake, I'll see you then. Take care.